Good morning, Bella Vista. What a weekend we've had. It was very interesting, and we're going to get into that today. But in the meantime, I want to welcome Mayor Flynn.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, in with Flynn.
Yep.
I really loved the way you brought that up at the meet and greet last time. You got
Well, thanks.
You got a couple of chuckles out of that, didn't you?
Yeah.
It was great. You know, we've truly, the city in particular, has had an interesting week. And the first thing I'd like you to help us with is, what about this cyber attack?
Yeah, that got on the news a little bit. I noticed we did have a cyber attack. We discovered it Sunday night. We have an outside vendor actually that watches for cyber attacks. So we were somewhat pleased. We felt that we caught it fairly early on. But this is the effect it's had on the city. The police and the fire and the street department are all working as normal, which is the overwhelming majority of employees. The city hall and the community development, which does the permits, are working remotely from home. Basically, we shut down the internet, the city's internet system, and the phone system gets shut down along with that. So we're forwarding calls so that there's somebody in each department that'll answer the phone in case residents call in about whatever. You know, somebody in street department and somebody at City Hall and somebody in community development. It goes to their cell phone. So basically what's happening is our IT people are working with an outside consultant and going over each part of the system and trying to make sure, before we come back online, make sure that everything's okay before we bring it back up. So this is Wednesday. This is the third day. And each day it's up in the air how far they'll get. It's quite a meticulous process. They've actually discovered 4 people who had something on their computer. And they had 40 that identified as suspicious, and so far only 4 had anything on there. So it's very meticulous going through that process. You know, we actually doubled the number of people since I've been mayor in IT. We have 4 people now, and we're fortunate. About a year ago, we hired a man named Sidney Reynolds who was over Washington County IT.
Yes.
So we have 2 really high-level guys that can work on things like this. And we did a lot of preventative things up front because it's become so common. You know, there was a big IT cyber attack in Washington County, I think about a year ago. And just recently, NWAC, you know, the community college had one, got a lot of publicity because they had to delay the opening of school. But one thing we're kind of fortunate about, we have a bunch of things that are not on our system. Our payroll's done by an outside vendor. It's not on our system at all. And of course, we don't have sewer or water or electric. Some cities have their own electric plant. So really, even though people look for ransomware, we're not under a lot of pressure. We're not, we don't have a lot of infrastructure that's really would be a huge problem. So I feel good about where we are so far. You know, you don't want to be overconfident, but we're working through it. And the main thing, it's actually affecting the fire department very little. In the case of the police department, well, this affects fire too, the dispatch.
I was going to say,
It
dispatch.
has some automatic things that, a thing called WestNet that does a lot of things automatically. So they're still able to function. It's just old school. Everybody has to say, you know, the dispatcher has to say everything. Nothing's automatic. So they're able to function and do all the emergency stuff, which of course is important. That's our highest priority. So we feel pretty good about where we're at, and we're just going to work through it. We think by the end of the week, hopefully we'll be, have everything settled. So.
Okay. I wonder why. I mean, we're just itty bitty in the grand scheme of things. I just wonder why the city of Bella Vista would.
Yeah, there's starting to be more and more local people being hit, and it just seems like it's become so widespread and so common that you almost expected. And we've been working really hard to try to prevent it the last few years. And really, I think some of those steps help you even after the fact, the steps you've taken, such as we had a company hired just to watch that, and they discovered it very early on. So that was helpful. But it's just amazing. It's become part of life in our society nowadays. And actually, when I became mayor, this is probably my number one worry. If people ask me, oh, what do you think could go wrong? This was probably at the top of the list.
Really?
Yeah, because cybersecurity has been a thing, for a while now, and you could see how it could cause a lot of trouble. I can see how it'd be much more of an overwhelming problem at a bigger entity. Some entities are so gigantic.
Yes.
And ours really is still pretty small. We have about 210 employees, and we don't have a lot of data from the residents, from outside people on our system. Of course, there's data about employees, but a lot of that was in the payroll system, which is separate. So,
well, that ought to bring Bella Vista a lot of comfort. And could we just both say here, as an individual, you need to be vigilant about these sorts of things.
yes.
Don't take anything for granted. Don't be paranoid, but at the same time, just, hey, take it easy out there. Make sure your passwords are updated, and that you are aware of what, sometimes those links that you see, that you get in your email or your text, they're so interesting. Like, this poor little dog isn't, be careful. There might, yes, that poor little dog is probably a poor little dog, but there might be something right behind that. As soon as you click on that link, you're in trouble.
Yeah, there's so much phishing nowadays, and we do believe we'll be able to determine, what was the weak point and how they got in. A lot of concern is by vendors, outside vendors you have that have certain things that are on your system.
True.
And are they safe enough? But we think we'll be able to determine where the weak spot was. But
Okay.
we have a lot of training internally about phishing and whatnot. It's gotten to be so common. I get stuff every day on my personal computer.
Yeah.
I just ignore it all. It's
Yeah. Well, I'm glad.
delete it and go on,
That's
because it's just, I always joke that my wife and I will never win any money, because if anybody says we won anything, we'll think it's a scam and ignore it. So,
That's true. That's true. Well, some more excitement over the weekend. Your street department is awesome.
yeah, we had quite a bit of damage from the storm on Friday, August 16, and it was very, I guess I'd say, localized. It was mainly on the west side, in certain areas of the west side in particular, but it was a big job. I mean, we had people out working all night and the next day, and it was a big effort by the fire and streets.
Oh, fire too.
I'm sure the
Well, and
police
police,
probably got
everybody.
involved.
Yeah.
But they worked really hard on it, and we are going to have some cleanup after the fact. We've had some citizens talk about that, and they're going to have to set up a schedule. They don't have that set yet, because they have to get some outside people, and actually they're coordinating with the POA
Yes.
about a place to put it, and they may get some chipping done and that kind of thing. But one of the things that happens, our vendors for paving the streets, we are actively involved with them right at this time. And what happens is our street department gets the street ready, and then the pavers come along, and they tell us when they're coming. It's a certain time, so it was already all set up, for this week and the next week, and you don't say, oh, well, we don't want you to come now, why don't you come this other day? It was all teed up.
Yeah.
So our street people are busy trying to do that and figuring out how they'll have time to pick up the storm debris and whatnot also.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's just something to be coordinated. But I have had good feedback from people. They had to do a lot of work to clear streets so people could get through, that night. And some of the street department people, there's some pretty good damage on the west side end in Gravette. Some of our people had to cut their way out of their own house in order to get into, or their own street to get into work.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on a little bit. We're going to have to. We've got a lot to talk about, but let's try to get it all taken care of if we can. Okay. So we have Fries and Nichols, who's been working on our code reform.
yeah, that's our outside consultants, and they came to the city council work session on Monday, the 19th, and it kind of gave us an update where they were on the code reform. And the good news is they're on schedule, and they believe they'll be done around February 2025. And as you know, when they're done, then the final product goes to the planning commission, and then they deal with it, and then it goes to city council. So it'll be a little while after that before it's completed. But I was impressed with their presentation and their professionalism. You know, they're out of Tulsa, and it's such a involved area. It's amazing when you look at the draft. I think it was something like 200 some pages, and there's so much detail you don't think about. And then when you read it, you think, oh yeah, I can see why that's a thing. Yeah, you got to cover that. And but that's why it's an advantage to have outside people like that have a broad background, you know, and have worked with different cities and whatnot. So
We're not easy either.
yeah, Bella Vista is way more challenging than the
Yeah.
average. We have a very unusual setup. It's not just the different entities. You know, we've got the POA and the ACC and the city, but the history of how Bella Vista was developed, and there's all
Yes.
these restrictions that are in the original plats and whatnot that you have to take into account. For instance, it might say a certain area is going to be R1 residential. Well, the city can't come along and zone it commercial.
Right.
If they could, it would have no effect because there's
Right.
already a restriction.
Exactly.
So there's all kinds of things like that that they have to take into account and work through. So it makes it very challenging, I think. But and another thing I want to emphasize is they are going to have a public session and give the public a chance to weigh in.
Another
Yeah.
chance, because we've had public input already.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
right.
That's right.
Yeah, and so they're not just gonna. She kind of emphasized we're not just gonna go to the planning commission and spring a surprise on everybody. You know, they're gonna kind of present things and give people a chance to give their feedback. So.
Exactly. Okay, so we have city council elections coming up,
Yeah.
and we've got 9 potential folks that are vying for position.
Yeah, there's, every 2 years we have city council elections and they rotate. There's one in Ward 1, which is mainly on the east side, and one position in Ward 2, which is mainly the central Bella Vista, and one position in Ward 3, which is further west, the Highlands, and a little bit in addition to that. They try to make the 3 wards equal in population. That's how they do it. So there's 3 openings, and there's 4 people in Ward 1, including an incumbent, and 2 people in Ward 2, and then there's 3 people in Ward 3, including an incumbent. And you know, Bella Vista is fortunate about people being willing to serve. Since I've been involved in politics in Bella Vista since 2014, and there's never been anyone run for council and be unopposed. There's always at least 2 people every time, and a lot of times 3 or 4.
That's good.
So it is good, yeah, because in some other cities around here, I know people are on council in bigger cities like Rogers even, and they'll be unopposed, you know, next time they run. So most people think it's a good thing to have the choices.
Oh, I think it is, and it brings in fresh new perspectives. I just want to let Bella Vista know a little bit. The TV station, Bella Vista Community Television, is putting together, hopefully sooner than later, 3 different forums or meet the candidate positions. Because there's so many people running, we want to have a session for each of the 3 wards so that everybody gets a chance to say why they should be part of the new council.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I appreciate it. That, you know, things like the TV station doing something like that, or, you know, the Vista sometimes will write up little things about all the candidates, because it's hard for people to get to know, you know, the different people and what their background is. I did want to mention, I did notice a little bit of a trend. there are more younger people running in Bella Vista and some pretty talented people, which I think is a good thing, obviously.
That's
to
right.
have. Yeah, because it's a bit of a commitment. It's a part-time job, but still it's a commitment. You know, if you're working full-time and then you're going to go be on council also, maybe you have a family, and you know, it's a lot. So
that's
it's
right.
great that good people are willing to throw their hat in the ring.
Okay, so let's take a quick break. That was a lot of stuff we just talked about. So we'll be back in just a few minutes. Stay tuned.
Hello, I'm Dave Todd, president of Todd Films. We work alongside Bella Vista Community Television to produce some of the content you see aired here. Have you thought about reaching your customers through a television ad? We have several options for you to consider. They range from coming to our studio here, or going to your place of business, or on location. Once you have your commercial, Bella Vista Community Television has several options for you to consider for airing your commercial. Do you have a live event that you would like to capture on video? We also offer live production packages that may be of interest. Please continue to tune in to Bella Vista Community Television. We hope you are enjoying this program. And now back to the show.
Hi there, we're back. It's time again to talk about some other things that are going on. These are not quite as intense, the next things we're going to be talking about, right?
Well, hopefully. Yeah, we talked about some pretty important things up front there.
We did. But okay, so something that's really cool that's coming up again, it's always fun, and everybody really ought to do it, is the Citizens Police Academy starting again, right?
Yeah, it's starting on August 27, and you know, people sign up for that. I think they probably have 15 to 20 people, something in that range, and boy, the people have done it in the past. I did it myself in the spring of 2022, and people have done it in the past. Are really impressed how much they learn, and usually they come away with that, with a more positive attitude toward the police than they had before they took the course. And many of them already had a positive attitude, but you know, modern policing is very sophisticated.
Yes.
There's really a lot to it, and it's kind of interesting to see the different aspects of it. And I think it's a great program. I appreciate the police putting it on. So,
Yes.
yeah.
I kind of skipped over a little bit here. Not
about
really.
the city
but
council meeting?
Yes,
Yeah.
next Monday.
Yeah, Monday, August 26th. We don't have too much to pass in that meeting. We have the street department coming back for some funding for their debris cleanup. Mm-hmm. So I had a couple special things. We were going to have a summary by the street department of just their whole operation, which I think people will find interesting. And also a construction update by Fire Chief Sims, because we have so many moving parts there with the construction. People have walked by or driven by City Hall, probably noticed we've started to get some steel structure up out front there.
Yeah, there's another wing-looking thing on the end.
So he's going to bring people up to date on when those different aspects of that will be done and whatnot. So I think that would be interesting for people to hear that.
Hey, you know, I know we've talked about it before, but let's just do it briefly. It looks like the bridge is kind of almost finished.
Yeah.
Right in front of your city hall.
Yeah, they were talking about August, but now they're saying September. But yeah, it's. I think it's going to be. People are really going to be relieved when it's finished, because it'll be so easier to drive without having to dodge the barrels and make sure you're in the right place and that kind of thing.
That's
right?
exactly right.
Yeah.
You know, another thing that I don't know if you, I guess other entities have done this, but I'm really impressed with the youth council project that the city's doing.
Yeah, that was a fairly new thing, and our city clerk, Wanda Krug, you know, she used to be a school teacher and really was grabbable by the horn, so to speak, kind of was interested in that idea. It's something the Arkansas Municipal League has started to push, and it's juniors and seniors in high school, and they have a little group, and what we're going to do is have them do a little different area each month. You know, 1 month they'll go to a council meeting, 1 month they'll see about the fire department, 1 month about the police, and it goes the entire school year. So
You going to send them over to the planning commission too? Well, I mean, that's part of the process.
Yeah, I think they are going to learn about that.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think it'll be interesting for them. And the idea is really to get students more involved in understanding local government and in civics, so to speak. So
Sure.
I think it'll be a fun group. We're looking forward to it.
Absolutely. So we have more bike races coming up. What's this enduro bike race? Are you going to ride?
No, I'm not.
I'm sorry, that was mean. You got enough to do. You don't need to be out there hurting yourself on a bicycle.
Yeah, August 31, they have the Enduro bike race, which is in Bella Vista, and it's a fun race. It's I think it's around 20 miles, but they have different routes they take, and I think that's always a fun one. And then this one, which is in Bentonville and Bella Vista, October 18 and 19, Outer Bike. That's more of a gigantic vendor thing. That's everybody involved in the biking industry is there, and it's really fun for people to go and try out different things and see what all the alternatives are. We have more and more businesses in Northwest Arkansas that are bike related. In Bella Vista, we've got at least 2 or 3 bike shops, probably more than that. That's just off the top of my head. So, people renting bikes and fixing bikes and selling bikes, and it's really gotten to be a fun business for people. And, Walmart's really emphasizing the bikes. They have a goal, short-term goal, of having 10% of their employees at headquarters ride a bike to work.
That's fabulous.
And they've got it set up so you wouldn't have to be on the street. The bike trail will go right, Razorback Greenway will go right through their new headquarters. And
if you've ever seen that parking lot at home office, you can understand why it'd be easier to ride a bike.
Yeah, it would help for commuting. And there are people from Bella Vista right now that actually ride to work, and I think there'll be a lot more in the future. So it helps having an e-bike too, I might say.
Yes,
once you start going distances.
No kidding. Will there be any road closures for any of those, or is it mostly on the trails?
Oh, the bike races? Yeah, it's mostly on the trails.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes there's crossing and whatnot, but they seem to be able to handle that pretty well, having the police out there and make sure everything's safe. So that's a good question.
Okay, so we have, what golf tourneys have we got? It seems like we have a golf tourney about every 5 minutes.
It's just about every week, I think, and there's a lot of different charity golf tournaments, and there's even some tournaments that are for keeping up certain golf courses. They have volunteer groups that work on the courses, so it's just a constant thing. Yeah, I don't want people to forget about golf. There's still a lot of golf going on in Bella Vista. So.
That's right. That's right.
And actually tying in with that, the POA has been improving the Tanyard Creek driving range, and they're going to have food and alcoholic beverages and a very improved driving range situation. That's supposed to open up around December or so, the end of the year.
Have you seen that? It's beautiful. It looks like a postcard out there. It's really beautiful.
I read something that really shocked me that I call it the Top Golf effect. 20% of the people who play golf don't ever go on a course.
Oh.
They just go to the driving range. And so I think, the POA improving that driving range and making it more of a real place to go is kind of consistent with what's happening in society in general. It's amazing how many people and if it's really, really nice, people say, heck, I can just go out there and have fun, right? And
they have the simulators too.
Yeah.
You can actually go there and you can sit there on one side on the bar and have a drink and watch your friends make a fool of themselves or not, or have fun,
Yeah,
so it's
right.
entertainment. And there's a trail pretty close to there too, so it's really just going to be one more place for entertaining and amenities.
Yeah, that's right.
It's really beautiful, and the parking lot will be all nice and landscaped properly and lots of parking, and it'll be great.
Yeah.
It'll be great. Another thing that's really exciting, we've got 3 new places to eat.
Yeah, we have a new coffee shop and bakery that's over on Lancashire. It's
pretty close to Bella's Table.
Yeah, that's right. close to Bella's Table, and that's brand new and really nice. And of course, Rosita's, the Mexican restaurant that used to be in Jane, Missouri, is now in the Old American Legion next to the History Museum. And they're a real experienced restaurateurs, so I think that's going to be successful. And they're pretty big there on breakfast, which is something people in Bella Vista really want more of.
That's right,
Yeah.
and that bakery the same way.
Yeah.
If you haven't been there, you need to go have a very French breakfast. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. That bakery actually is a part of the table folks, 5 or 6 different things they own.
Yeah.
And that bakery was moved from the square, downtown Bentonville, to Bella Vista. And it makes all the bread and the pastries and everything for all the table restaurants.
Yeah.
So that's a real good addition, as well as Rosita's moving there and the whole thing. 2 very cool places for people to have breakfast.
Well, I've been really encouraged by some of the little shopping centers. You know, that one over there on Lancashire and Cunningham Corner. And, of course, the one over by the old movie theater. They're all full, and, you know, a lot of thriving businesses there. So I think it's kind of emblematic of kind of the direction Bella Vista is heading, you know, that people are able to have success here. So
Exactly.
It's encouraging.
Exactly. And then later, in maybe September, 1st of October, somewhere along in there, we'll have the BV625 open.
Yeah,
Where,
that's
in
over
Kingsdale.
in Kingsdale, yeah.
And
So,
there's a trail right behind it as well, and it'll be a really cool new place.
yeah, that's a good area because it has the golf, it has tennis over there, and of course the outdoor pool, and the trails are
Yep.
right there also.
Yep.
And I understand that's going to be a barbecue type place, and also
Basically,
have a refurbished bar area and whatnot. So I think it's going to be really quite nice when it's done. In fact, I haven't gotten a chance to be over there yet, but I understand the new golf shop has opened there
It
already.
has. It opened last week.
Yeah.
And that's much reduced because the restaurant took over a part of, we didn't really need that big a shop there for golf things. And now it's still nice. It's still really great. And that restaurant too will be basically barbecue, but the cool thing is there's something there for alpha-gal people that have the issue with alpha-gal. Gluten-free. I can't even imagine. You know, I'm kind of a foodie, so I have to try the weirdest thing on the menu. So one of the things they're going to do something with mushrooms or something. I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see how you can barbecue some of the things they're thinking of barbecuing.
Oh, that is interesting, yeah.
Okay, so I think we're close to the end here. We're like you were saying, later in the fall. Let's talk a little bit about Blue Crane's next.
Yeah, you know,
public input.
they have said that they were going to have some more, or at least one more public meeting. So they're getting their plans together now, and sometime in the fall they're going to have a meeting for the public to bring them in the loop about what their plans are. So I think it's good that they're being so transparent with it and whatnot.
And I'm hoping we have that at BVRC rather than the country club, so we can hold more people that
Oh,
way.
yeah, if it gets a large,
Yeah. Okay, and then again, you've already talked about the Fries and Nichols public meeting. Now that'll be important for people too, because like you said, people have an opportunity here to actually see way ahead of time what's going on. You know, in those planning meetings, the council meetings, the POA meetings, all of those, a lot of people only watch or see the final regular meeting. Believe me, and you know just as well as I do, there's been a lot of work that's been done before it gets down to the vote.
Yeah.
So people need to understand that it's not just on a whim like, oh yeah, let's go in and vote on these things today. No, there's a lot of prep that's gone on.
Well, one thing that I've found that if for citizens, if you really want to know what's going on, the Planning Commission, a lot of people don't think about that, but that's kind of a good place to get your first look at things, you know, that are coming up. And
Because the public meetings or the public notices are,
Yeah.
that's what the planning commission does for the council folks.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about all that. We do all the background work.
Yeah.
And by the time it gets to you, believe me, there's a lot of
yeah.
work.
So yeah, I was impressed how several of the planning commission folks like yourself were at the meeting the other day to hear Freezing Nichols update and whatnot. So
That's going to be the way we
Yeah.
need to vote. So,
Yeah.
we have to, when we approve something, it's not about our opinion.
yeah,
It's about check, 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 check.
yeah,
And we may not agree, but if that's what the ordinance says, that's the way we have to vote.
yeah.
So, all right, well, I tell you what, every month it just gets better and better, and I just feel very fortunate that you come and tell everybody about this.
Well,
And
thank you. I really enjoy it, and I think you guys do a great job here at the TV station. And man, it's like so many other things in the city. It's continuous improvement. You're getting better and better all the time, and new equipment, new volunteers. I think it's a really fun entity.
Yeah, well, thank you, and we'll see you next month.
Okay, thank you.
What exciting things are we going to have? Who knows? See you next month, Bella Vista. Until then, have a good day.